You were just listening to the chorus of Fever Dream, the newest single from Hurtwave. If you think you recognize the singer's voice, that's because it's Rory Rodriguez of Dayseeker, who, together with Dayseeker's drummer Mike Karle, has started a new side project called Hurtwave. For this endeavour, the pair traffic in synths, and the output is decidedly different from that of their main band, as it falls under the Synthwave genre. Hurtwave was born when Rodriguez and Karle were drafting demos in GarageBand. Rodriguez says that these tracks flourished into some of their proudest work yet, blending their real and emotional lyrics into a synthwave setting that has created something really special for their listeners. Hurtwave have signed with Spinefarm Records, the same label Rory and Mike are signed to with Dayseeker. So far, Hurtwave have put out 3 singles, but Rory promises there will be an additional 4 to come out, which altogether will make up for the band's first EP, Night Therapy 1. I got to chat with Rory about the new project. We dive into the 3 singles that are out now. The stories behind each track are very interesting, to say the least. Here's my chat with Rory of Hurtwave.
I need your help when the silence is deafening. If it's your time.
Rory, first off, thanks so much for taking the time to chat with me, man. I know we had to postpone a couple of times, so I'm glad we're finally able to do this.
Yeah, me too, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. My first question in general for the podcast has been, just because I started it during COVID, how has the pandemic been for you?
Pretty okay, I guess. I mean, some big negatives in some regards, but right. Positive in some light, though. Yeah, I think just not being able to tour is one of the bigger downsides for sure. But I think with all the free time, though, Mike and I had a lot of time to write for our project Hurtwave, which was, I just think there was just so much free time to work on that we wouldn't have gotten a lot of it done if the pandemic hadn't happened. And I started like a Patreon on my own just for like supplemental income. And that's been kind of a cool new thing in my life. And I don't think I would have that unless the pandemic had happened. So you kind of take the good with the bad, I guess, at the end of it. But yeah, how's it been for you, man?
Pretty good, man. Just been like the podcast kind of was born out of this. Before this, I was just getting to like interview bands backstage before or after they've gone on set, like when they were playing in Toronto. So this just kind of came out of that. I still kept getting emails from the PR companies, and I was like, oh, so interviews is still a thing? And it's actually been great because I get a bit more time with the artists, and just because everyone's home. And and also just, I don't know, it's a bit less intrusive, I find, just because like I'm not just like a random guy trying to talk to you after you've performed or right before you're going on stage. People don't want to talk then, right? Like that's your time. So, I find it's been pretty good. But yeah, it's interesting that your Hurtwave project has come to life, at least out to the public, during all of this. And that was going to be my first question is that because you've just had more time for the two of you to work on that?
Yeah, we kind of had we had sort of actually like legal upholds with our label because we were in a separate project called Dayseeker, and we were having a lot of weird things where I guess, you know, if you're signed to that label with one project, they technically have rights to whatever other projects that you're entering into. So the crazy thing is that we had this first single, Sever, and it's probably been done for like, it had been done for like 2 or 3 years before it actually got released to the public. And it was just because we were just kind of like back and forth with our label, kind of like trying to figure out just like terms that were like comfortable and appropriate for everybody. So it's it kind of worked out for the best though, because I think Sever kind of stayed how it was, you know, after all these years. But there's a lot of songs that we actually went back to and kind of realized, you know, like they were like 3 or 4 years old, and we kind of realized that as time had gone on that like we had probably gotten a little bit better at songwriting or just more conscious of what we were doing. And so we ended up reworking a lot of the songs for the release. And I'm like, honestly, it was really agitating for a while how long it was taking to get everything figured out with the label. But now I'm kind of glad that it happened, because I feel like we had a chance to like kind of sit with some of these songs and realize that they could be better overall. So
right.
The timing just kind of worked out really well. That it's kind of a dead period for Dayseeker, which is our other band, and then we have all these songs to put out for Hurtwave. So it's been nice, man. It feels like we're still trying to stay busy, even though the world is kind of shut down.
Yeah,
right now.
For sure. The new project is very different to Dayseeker, but like still the same, I think, lyric wise, like we're still getting that same like very sensitive, emotional, personal messaging, but obviously the sound is very different. When did you guys actually feel like we're ready to put this out? I guess like obviously pandemic kind of rushed things, but was this going to happen regardless, like around this time, or do you think you would have pushed it a bit longer?
It for sure would have happened around this time, but I think just because of the pandemic, we just had like so much more free time to kind of play around with the songs, because I ended up, because Mike and I playing in Dayseeker, I actually ended up moving in with Mike in February, and so we have a little like home studio set up. So it was funny because I moved in with him in February, and then the pandemic hit in like March. So it's been yeah. So I mean, the timing was kind of good though, because I feel like if we didn't live together, it probably would have been harder to get a lot of this stuff done. But again, just with how much free time we had, and it was just super convenient, you know, even if one of us were working, it was like we could just work on music like pretty much with any free time that we had, because we lived together. So it was, I guess it probably would have came out around the same time, but we definitely, I feel like we were just more productive because we had more free time overall. So
yeah, you were kind of forced to.
Yeah, not too bad at the end of the day.
Cool. So the sound that you guys have cultivated is pretty, like I said, different from Dayseeker. Why did you decide to go with a synthwave sound?
It kind of evolved into that. There were honestly like a lot of songs that I had like written on acoustic guitar over the last couple of years, and then I bring it to Mike, and then he would kind of add in like his own elements with like percussion and with production, and then we would work with our producer. And Sever, when we did a couple of years ago, I don't feel like synthwave was like as popular at the time, and then we kind of like we redid Sever, just like in terms of production. We picked like some different synth sounds and like soundscapes to make it a little bit more kind of like 80s overall. And then I feel like the songs kind of just took shape over it. It's just something that like Mike and I are just really big into like pop music, and it just seemed like a cool opportunity to try something like really, really different than Dayseeker. And we kind of, even with Dayseeker though, we were kind of touching into like 80s elements in some of our music. And so this just felt like a more interesting way, like it's just a bit softer. And because it's its own project, like we could kind of do whatever we wanted to and not worry about like upsetting somebody who's been like a long time listener. So we just love the synthwave genre, and it seemed to fit pretty well over a lot of these songs. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I saw on YouTube there's a version of, or an acoustic version of you playing Fever Dream, which like that's also why I was like, that's probably like maybe where it initially started was just you and a guitar playing it, and then it sounds so much different. So that's very cool. I like that a lot.
Yeah, very, very different.
Yeah, man, it's really good stuff. Like I'm trying to remember the moment I got the email when I think Sever was released, and I recognized your voice, and I'm just like, I know this. Who is this? And then I did some digging, and I found out it was you from Dayseeker, and I was just like, holy crap! It's like I said, similar but very different at the same time, and it just works really well. So I think what you guys are working on is really cool.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
What is the writing or producing process like for this project?
Yeah, it's a lot of, like I said, like I'll usually kind of have like an idea that kind of sparks it, at least on like an instrumental sense, and then Mike and I will usually work on it together as much as we can. We'll usually get some ideas for like vocals and melodies, and then we go to our producer, who is Daniel Bronstein, out here in LA, and he did a lot of the work on Sleep Talk for Dayseeker's last record, and he's just a great guy, like a really positive attitude, and he really knows like just how to get really good sounds for like soundscapes for just like really ambient, ethereal stuff. And he's like right in line if we want to try like more like 80s synthesizers. And he's just he's a great producer in the sense too that he'll like really look at how like a full album or how an entire collection of songs all go together. So if he's like, oh, like you have a bunch of songs that do this, like we should try and make this one a little bit different. So you're basically not releasing like the same song, like,
gotcha, yeah,
or something. So,
right.
Yeah. So usually, we'll go to him when we have a pretty rough skeleton, and then, him, Mike, and myself we'll just kind of all work on it at his studio and then just get it mixed and mastered. But it's a pretty, it's a nice, like open kind of writing style. Like I'm always down to try. There's always things like that they might hear that I don't hear, or vice versa. And then even if like, there's been times where they've like wanted me to try things that like I didn't think was a good idea, but then I do try it and I'm like, okay, you were right. Like
right, for sure.
Yeah, so it's just a nice open process. But yeah, it's just basically between Mike, Daniel, and myself, just for like Hurtwave. Yeah.
Cool. So would it be safe to say that Mike has way more of a role in this than he would in the Dayseeker project, or is he pretty involved in that too?
I'd say a little bit more. I suppose with Dayseeker, there's like maybe a couple more cooks in the kitchen, so to speak.
Yeah.
Like because we have our other guy, our bass player and our guitar player in Dayseeker. They obviously have some opinions in writing and song structuring. It's not too far off though, honestly though, because we're still working with Dan, who's the same producer. And I suppose that the approach is just different because with at least on the last record, we, still wanted it to be like a little bit more post-hardcore or like hard rock. And this is obviously just like, it's quite a bit more mellow and more experimental, but it's kind of nice because again, it's like freeing in the sense that we don't have to worry about. Because honestly, the funny thing is that because Sever was the first song that we had written, and when we sent it to our label, we were like kind of, it was like before Sleep Talk, and they had so many conversations where they kept trying to get us to put Sever out as to redo Sever a little bit as a rock song and just put it out on Sleep Talk, and we were like, I don't know, man, like I don't. I think it's because that we had already had songs like Fever Dream. And there's other songs written too where they were too kind of mellow or too different, like songwriting.
They're their own thing.
Right. We were just like, I don't think this would like fit on a Dayseeker record. Or I feel like there would just be so many people who would be like upset that it was like really soft compared to the old stuff. And we were like, no, we just want like these songs to be their own separate thing. Like we don't want to like just force it onto like a record just because I don't think they wanted us to have two projects. I think that's why.
Gotcha, yeah.
But no, I'm glad we did. Like it's a bit more, it's a bit more freeing, and like I feel like we can take a little bit more chances than we do, at least than we could have with Sleep Talk. I feel like now after Sleep Talk, we can kind of be a little bit weirder, I guess, because we've like kind of stepped out of like the metal hardcore world like we were in a couple of years ago. Yeah. Right.
What has the response been from fans? Have you like generally people been happy with it?
Yeah, man. Really good. I'm thankful that we had like, we still have like a fan base with Dayseeker to kind of just sort of transition over to Hurtwave, because it's still kind of grueling, like starting a project from scratch. And I do think there's still a lot of Dayseeker listeners who probably don't know about Hurtwave, but I think, the songs have only been out for, I think since maybe like May or June. So it's been like 4 months, but I think we have like over like 400,000 streams for the three, total for like all 3 songs together. And it's pretty cool because when we were putting the songs out, we were like, oh, we'll get like a couple thousand plays for each song. Like it's, we didn't really think like a lot of people were going to pay attention, but
cool.
It seems to be gaining traction pretty fast, but I think it's probably because of Dayseeker, because a lot of people, if they like Sleep Talk, I think that they're probably hopping over pretty quick for this stuff.
Gotcha. Yeah. How many songs are you guys sitting on right now?
Well, we've written 7 total, and then 3 are out right now. So there's still 4 other songs that we're in the process of. They're, for the most part, they're pretty much, we're like 95% done recording. We have like like some saxophone to record for a couple of songs, and that's like the last thing. Yeah. It took a minute to find a good sax player, but it's for sure very like the Midnight, if you've ever heard of those guys. If you haven't heard of the Midnight, they're great. But just like a little saxophone that we have to do, and otherwise, the other 4 songs are done, and I'm super excited about I think they're all kind of different and unique in their own way, and I think it's we kind of took this approach to just putting out like singles because we just didn't want to drop like 7 songs for a project that nobody knew about, and then like nobody like listened or like really cared. So I think like putting them out like single by single, it allows the listener to like, you really just have to digest like this 3 or 4 minutes of like just this one song. And
exactly.
I think we've done that in the past with like, at least with Dayseeker, we put out like 12 song, like, full lengths just all at once. And I would kind of realize that like people's attention span, I don't think was long enough sometimes to like want to sit through like an album that's almost like 45 or 50 minutes long.
Right.
So.
Especially if you're a new project, right? Like that's the thing too. It gives people something to look forward to. So the EP that is coming out, that will be called Night Therapy. So that's what you're doing. You're doing single until they're all out and then releasing it as an EP?
Yeah, exactly. So like when the last song comes out, it'll be like Night Therapy 1. And then we're kind of like, it kind of leaves the door open for like, we'll probably just, each release that comes out might be like Night Therapy 2, Night Therapy 3.
Cool.
Just as it goes along. So
why Night Therapy?
We kind of actually, we were honestly a big part of the project, and kind of the holdup was just the name of the project, because it used to be called Darker Weather, and then we kind of just ended up hating that name after a couple of years went by. So we were kind of thinking about calling the project Night Therapy, but then we were like, sounds more like an album title than like a band name. But I don't know, we kind of shared demos with like a couple of friends, like for some of the songs in their earlier phases. And I think a lot of the songs that are more in like the synthwave genre, like we just had a lot of friends who were like, this is like really good music if I was just like going on like a drive in the nighttime or something.
Oh, okay.
And, we kind of, because that happens a lot for us on tour too. It's like, I mean, so much of the time you're just driving like in the middle of nowhere in the middle of the night. And so we liked the vibe around that. And then kind of the fact that like, a lot of our music is like pretty sad, but pretty heavy, like lyric wise. But like we did, at least with Dayseeker, got a lot of feedback that it was like therapeutic or helpful if somebody was like going through something kind of tough. So we kind of just liked the idea of like labeling it like this is like prime music to listen to in the evening. But it's like therapeutic if you're kind of going through something. So that's sort of,
I get that. Yeah.
Like night therapy. Yeah. Came into play.
For sure. Listening to the songs, I did get that sense. Music is therapeutic in general, I think for most people, but like these songs specifically deal with things that so many people can relate to. I think Sever really struck me just because of, just the fact of it's being in a relationship that you're holding on to that you probably shouldn't be holding on to things. Been there. And like it just like really struck home. Luckily I'm in a good relationship now, so that's great. But
good for you.
Thank you. But yeah, there was like definitely a toxic one, and that song really hit home with me, and I've listened to it a bunch, like just back to back, and so yeah, it's definitely working, and it is therapeutic for sure. It's always nice when you can hear an artist or a band describe something that you think you're going through. Maybe like, you're not on your own going through it, but like it's really great when you're like, holy crap, like this is exactly what it feels like.
Yeah. I think relatability is really key with like enjoying music, and so we try and make it as like, I guess, universal as possible.
Cool. Yeah. So just because there are only 3 songs out, I'd like to kind of get a bit more insight on each one, if you don't mind. So Sever, we just touched on a little bit. Maybe you could give your side of what Sever is about.
Yeah, Sever, I haven't really been in a serious relationship for probably like 5 or 6 years now. And there was a girl that I kind of met a couple years ago, where I was kind of like, oh, wow, like I have a lot of feelings for this person. And I think I would be willing to kind of give up the single life, if it meant we had a chance to try and be in a relationship. And it always just felt like it was like right at the cusp of something serious happening or something really nice happening. And she would just kind of detach herself, would be really hard to get a hold of, would be really unavailable to spend time with. And then it just would kind of, when we were together, just like a really warm and nice kind of like vibe and just aura overall. And then it was like when we would separate, just like a really cold kind of attitude, and just on 2 opposite ends of the spectrum. And it just got like a little, I think maybe for a few months you try and be patient and understanding with the process. And I think it just hit a point where it was going on for like way too long, like just a really like maybe even like a year. And I was kind of like, okay, like if something's meant to work out, it should work out. I still have a lot of love for her. We're friends, and she knows that song is about her, and she's like mildly honored that she like inspired it, but it is obviously, I don't think, very psyched about like the content behind it. Right. But she understands, and she knows like that, like she wasn't being very responsible at the time with our situation. Right. So I think I just kind of, it's honestly like most of the time my writing is a little bit more sad in like a tragic sense, and not so much like a like you suck kind of sense.
Okay, yeah. I see what you mean.
Why are you? Yeah, like you're playing with my emotions, and you're, and especially when like you just want to maybe let go of a situation, they keep kind of drudging up the situation again. So it was just kind of about like my relationship with her, and feeling like she didn't really, ever like really want to fully commit or kind of like cut ties in a big way, and just kind of our process of how we tried to work through that.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. I think the next release was Bleach. What is that one about?
Another girl. Yeah. It was, Bleach is about a girl I dated probably close to a decade ago. And it was kind of like, it's probably the most like toxic relationship I've ever been a part of. I still have like a lot of love for that person though. I don't really like, I don't like really hate any of my exes, and I don't wish anything poor onto any of them. They're all like great people, just like didn't work out for certain reasons. And but she had a lot of she just had like a lot of demons she was battling internally that I didn't really know about until like we got kind of into the thick of the relationship, in just regards to like sexual assault when she was really young, and like kind of like an identity crisis with her religion. She was Mormon, but was like kind of realizing she like didn't believe it. But obviously like her whole family were Mormons, and they were like kind of trying to like really push it on her. Like, that's the right thing you have to believe. And like, we love you and don't want you to like burn in hell if you don't join us in believing this. And just a lot of internal issues that basically led to her being like highly suicidal when we were dating. And there was just a lot of, it created a weird dynamic where I kind of felt like scared to leave the relationship even when I wanted to, because she had like very mildly like alluded to the fact that she might take her own life if I were to end the relationship between us. And she kind of like, she told me about a specific instance in her life where she was like like on the verge of like just drinking a bunch of like bleach under the sink when she was like really sad, just like some really dark stuff. And so I don't know, we were on I started writing this song in my head actually like probably like 3 or 4 years ago. We were on tour somewhere, and I like started just hearing like the melody and like lyrics in my head. And so I wrote it from her perspective of just like, I think because like there were big points in the relationship where I wanted to leave, and I think she could see that, but I think she knew that she was able to keep me around if she would kind of imply that like she might not be alive if I were to end things. Yep. And so I kind of wrote it from her perspective of like her battle with like, you know, trying to live her life and, you know, not take her own life. And I don't know, there was something kind of interesting about just the title Bleach. And she didn't do it, thankfully. Like she's married and she has a bunch of kids now, and she seems happy, so I'm happy for her. Great. But I just wanted to kind of try and like I guess perspective writing is just always really interesting for me. So I always like to kind of try and like step into somebody else's skin and try and think like how are they feeling when they were dealing with these emotions.
Yeah, for sure. What do you remember what like triggered you to want to write about her and that relationship? Because this must have been like 7 years after the relationship itself. No, not really. It's these things just kind of have a way of just like popping into your head, because it's not really something that I think it's not like I'm still hung up on that relationship, and like we don't even really talk anymore, and it's kind of like an out of sight, out of mind thing with her, and like I'm happy for her that she's happy and everything's cool. But I don't know, I think because I think the other thing too is like the longer that you are like a songwriter, the more difficult it gets to kind of try and like tackle writing about things that you don't want to sound like a broken record. Gotcha. Yeah.
Like senses. And so that just seemed like a really weird kind of off the wall concept of like, you know, how many people write songs about like wanting to drink bleach to like, but obviously it's like it felt a little bit more comfortable because I guess it wasn't like from my perspective where hopefully like I wasn't worrying anybody, you know, who's listening. Right. But it just seemed interesting to like kind of see maybe how she felt when she was going through it. And hopefully if like, you know, people can relate if they've had similar thoughts and feelings. But
for sure. Yeah.
Not a real rhyme or reason, honestly. It was weird. It just like on a really long drive, and it just kind of popped into my head. And I was like, should write about that, I think.
Oh, that's cool. All right. And then the last one, Fever Dream.
Yeah, Fever Dream is it's like the first time that I've done like a collaboration track with somebody who is actually like a fan or a listener of music. So his name's Peter Polion. He's a big Dayseeker fan, and you know, sometimes I've been hired or commissioned to write songs for people as like gifts for usually like anniversaries or birthdays. If they like want me to write a love song for like them, I'm like willing to do that for like a commission. And so he kind of approached me that that his dad had passed a while ago, and that he, for his own kind of release of emotions and wanting to honor his father's memory, he like really wanted to write a song about it. But he had told me like pretty openly that he had like a really hard time kind of getting the words out, and that he had a lot of I don't know, I guess admiration for like how we do that with Dayseeker. And so he was really interested in it. So initially the funny thing is that I was just going to write this song, and it was just going to be like for him, like I wasn't going to release it or put it out. And then he had a really rough instrumental for Fever Dream. And it's very different than what it sounds like now, but a lot of the guitar chords he had written like in the verses are like the same chords that we ended up using for the song, and just more keyboard. And then I kind of changed the chorus a little bit, and but he'd even written like the piano lead like in the beginning and stuff. And so it was I don't know, I was just listening to the song in like my driveway when he had sent me the instrumental, and I was just kind of hearing like different melodies in my head. And I was like, oh man, this is like I think it could be really cool. And I kind of asked his permission. Like, I don't usually do this, but like, are you okay if like we end up putting this song out, if it ends up like coming out cool enough? And he was like all about it. And I think especially for him, like he feels like it's an even greater way to like honor his father's memory. Cause I think he wanted the song, I think, just for himself. And I think now he thinks it's cool that maybe it's like reaching a bunch of other people, but it normally would not have. So yeah, he just he sent me like a really long kind of note on his iPhone just about just the experience of like his dad passing, and like very vivid detailed feelings of like having to go identify like his dad's body, and like talking to his uncle on the phone about it, and like his dad's sense, like things his dad would say. And so we tried to like incorporate as many like pieces that we could. So it was like still very personal to Peter, but still kind of like relatable for anybody who's like had somebody die that they were close to. So, so I'm really happy with it. It came out really cool. It came out a lot cooler than I thought it was going to.
Yeah. That's such a cool story behind that. That's actually that one is my favorite so far that I've heard, because I lost my mother at a young age, and I totally
sorry
felt
that.
For that. Oh man, it happened a long time ago, but I totally felt that through the song. So that's really cool that you did that as like a commission initially, and then you really loved it. How was that? Like you said, it was your first time collaborating with a fan. Like what was that like? Was that, he must have been over the moon when you were like, I kind of want to put this out. He must have lost his shit.
Yeah, he's pretty excited about it. He's been super cool and just really humble and mellow. I mean, you meet people like that. So like sometimes you'll meet fans where you're like, wow, like this person is like I love them, but they're like very over the top about how much they're into our project.
They'll be like, I love Dayseeker. No, I love Dayseeker.
No, he's always been very like, at least the funny thing is I've never actually met him in person. But he's just always been super, through our interactions on social media. I mean, I'll meet him at some point. He's in New York whenever touring is a thing, but our interactions have just always been really, really mellow, just very like real, down to earth. And he's a cool guy. Yeah. And I definitely had the bigger hand in like writing the lyrics based off his experiences, and I wrote all the melodies, but he definitely like laid the groundwork for like the skeleton of the instrumental.
For sure. Yeah.
And then I kind of just took like liberties with it, like tweaking things here and there. But yeah, it was cool. I think it came out cool because it was like, there was kind of a different writer being thrown into the mix that really not there.
Like a ghostwriter.
Kinda, yeah. So I can't thank him enough. It came out really cool, and I'm really happy with that one in particular.
Yeah. It's lovely. It's a beautiful song, man.
Thank you, man. Thanks.
Just because there is no touring happening right now, and because you two live together, can we expect a live stream type situation of you guys performing some of these songs, maybe once you have a couple more out?
Yeah, I think the plan is to do that once more of the songs are out, because we worked with this company they're called Caliber TV, and they're based in Sacramento, but they did we put out some live videos with them for Dayseeker at like a live show, and so they kind of, I think they're big supporters of Hurtwave, and they were kind of like they did like some live session thing with this band called Darko. It's like very gross heavy music, but they were like, oh, like would you and Mike ever want to come? It basically just like, you want to ever like drive to Sacramento and like try and do like some live sessions for Hurtwave, like that would be cool. But it seems like maybe the right thing to do would be like when like more of the songs are out, because it might be weird putting out a live stream for a song that is not like available yet.
Right. Like for sure.
There. So yeah, so I think that's definitely the plan for sure at some point, but it'll probably be, we're hoping to have all the songs out by like February or March of next year, because they're coming out about like every every like 6 or 7 weeks. And so, yeah, hopefully like once the last one's out and people have some time to digest, we'll probably try and do some type of like live thing, because the stuff they did for Dayseeker like came out really cool. So it'd be cool to do some stuff like that for Hurtwave.
Yeah, for sure. What's that going to look like when touring is allowed again? You're obviously going to want to tour of Dayseeker and then tour of Hurtwave too. Like you're going to be really busy when that happens.
Maybe, yeah. Hurtwave might be.
Or is that just more of like a passion thing for right now? You think?
No. It would be no. Mike and I have talked about how cool, in some regards, how cool it would be if it was just him and I playing together. It's obviously like less people in the van. I don't know if that's better, like more lonely, but no, it's. I don't know. It's just because the project is so new. It's just, at least when I think Dayseeker is like has finally hit a level where like we don't have to do like crappy tours anymore.
Yeah.
And not like, I'm not saying that like in an elitist way, but there just was a time with like Dayseeker where you would take a tour and be like, man, like we're gonna play to like, I don't know, like 100 kids a night on a good night, and then probably more like 30 or 40 on like the bad nights. And like knowing there's probably going to be a lot more bad nights than there's going to be good nights. And so it feels like over the last like couple of years, like it's been like, oh, cool. Like we just, any offers we get are for like pretty decent tours. But I mean, we've been an active band for like 8 years. So there was a good 4 to 6 years of taking like.
Yeah, people don't think about that.
No, yeah, and that's why like a lot of bands still kind of just be like, I'm not down. Like the juice is not worth the squeeze. Like, you know, you driving like 12 hours to play for like 10 people is pretty brutal sometimes. So
for sure.
When you think about how with Hurtwave, I don't know if it'll be the same thing where, because we've never toured, like people are going to be like, we're not going to bring this, like nobody knows who you are. Like, why would we bring you out? Or maybe because there's a small tie to Dayseeker, we'll have like an in, but it's also interesting because it's an entirely different genre. So we probably wouldn't tour with like bands that we do with Dayseeker. So I don't know how that would work. Yeah. Cause we would have to kind of like try and tap into like the different world. I don't even know if like synthwave tours are like that much of a thing, but
I'm sure there's scenes for it. It's probably just like city specific, I'd imagine.
Yeah. Or I see like, or there's a project like Nothing Nowhere, which is kind of like, he's not the same like us at all, but he's kind of like digital beats over like really sad music. And I'll see him going out with like Knuckle Puck or like Neck Deep. So I don't know.
Okay.
It might be like, we might just get thrown more into like the alternative kind of world, which I'm super okay with. So I'd love to, but it's hard to say. I don't even know when like Dayseeker is going to get to tour again. So it's kind of rough right now, to be honest.
For sure, man. For sure. Maybe you could open for Dayseeker or something like that too.
Yeah.
That's really awesome that with Dayseeker, especially the last album, like you guys really killed it on that. The stream numbers are huge. Congratulations. That must feel really, really good to like you said, been together for so long and like doing those like shows for 30 people. And now, you know, you're on to the next level now, which is great.
Only took 7 years to like really sure, you know? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, those are all the questions I had about the music specifically. I just have a couple more and then I'll let you go. I was just curious to know what artist or band has been getting you through these times right now.
Oh, man. It's a lot of different stuff. I really like the band Camino.
Yes. I love Camino.
Yeah, an alternative rock band. Just super catchy stuff. I've been listening to a lot of like R&B, like female artists. Like Kehlani had a new album that came out that was pretty good. Alina Baraz had some good stuff. There's this artist named Black, but it goes like, it's like Six Lack, so he's always called Six Lack commonly. He's been great. The Midnight is awesome, like just very 80s.
Yeah, I love the Midnight.
Synthwave stuff. Just all that stuff. My buddies, well, it's kind of funny because I listen to this group called Bill Murray, but it's not like the actor. He's like, I don't know if you've ever heard of him, but he's also like he spells it like Bilmuri, but it's like, so whenever I go like, do you guys know Bill Murray? And they'll be like, yeah, like the actor. And I'm like, no, like the band. I don't know if you know who Attack is.
Yeah, I do.
Dude, he used to sing and play guitar in Attack. Like,
cool.
Have you ever seen like the crab, the Fun Up thing where the guy's like almost squatting down and he's like that. It's like he's the guy. Yeah, he's
that's so wild.
Yeah, he used to be in Attack, and then he has like his own little like his project that he does called Bill Murray, but it's cool. So I started off as like a fan, and then I think he was asking about like featuring singers on like an album he was coming out with, and then one of my friends threw my name into the mix, and then he knew who I was, and I didn't know that, and then I just DM'd him off a whim and was like, hey, if you ever like, I'm a big fan, if you ever want to collaborate, and then we did he put out a little like cover EP, and I did a cover with him, and then we did he has a release coming out pretty soon. He's funny in the sense that like there's kind of a comedic element to his band that like, I mean, his songs they're good and they can be serious, but there's like a satirical kind of thing about it. Like he's coming out with an album and I think it's called Eggy Pocket, and it's like it's just like very strange, but
right.
Yeah, so that was cool. So I got to sing on his new album, and then he also got this screamer from Dance Gavin Dance. I think his name's John Mess.
Sick.
So
yeah.
It's like I'm on it, and then John Mess is on it, and then it's like Bill Murray. So I feel like you might actually like Bill Murray. He has a man, what is it? I think he has an album called Rich Sips that came out, and then an album called Wet Milk. Yeah, so those are my two favorite. They're like little EPs, like little 7-song guys.
Cool.
But, there's some cool stuff on there. I think he's great, and I think he's gonna get like a lot more popular.
Wicked, man.
Yeah.
That's cool. How do you go about finding new music in general?
Spotify actually helps a lot. I think like as much as people want to say that Spotify kind of like bones artists out of money, which I mean they kind of do, but I feel like though it just makes it so easy for me to find something new to listen to and then end up supporting that band, because it's not like I don't have to buy the album to listen to it. I can just pay a fee and then I can listen to like literally anything I want.
Right.
But yeah, Spotify helps a lot. I mean, yeah, there's like New Music Fridays or like a little small Christmas every week. Because comes out, it just compiles a playlist of things that I like, artists I like and like artists I might like. And then I listen to, there's a Discover Weekly. It's every Monday. Just because I have a long commute to work. So I'll just listen through. It's like 20 to 30 songs of like just random new stuff, and that's how I found some people I really like just on there. It's kind of cool. It's a lot of songs that I don't like, but you'll eventually like hear one and I'll be like, cool. I mean, I'll find the artist and be like, okay, I gotta like bookmark that and go back and listen. But yeah, honestly, Spotify is like a huge help for things that I like. And then sometimes friends will tell me like, oh, you gotta check out this band, but like it's mainly Spotify to be honest. Yeah.
It's funny how Spotify does that. I find like I'll like a dance song for like, I'll just be like, oh, that's a cool beat, and I'll just like it, and then the next Discover Weekly is like, Frank loves electro, and I'm like, no, Frank doesn't. It's pretty funny how it does that. Cool. And then last question, who is the newest artist that you've come across?
The newest artist that I've come across. Oh man, I wish I remember their name. I think they're called The Strike or something, but they have a couple cool songs. It's very much in like that 80s kind of realm, and there's kind of like some saxophone going on.
Cool.
Yeah, it's tough too, because sometimes I'll find an artist and I'll be like, dang, like I really like just this one song, and then I try and listen to the others and I'm like, I don't like the other songs like quite as much, but this one song is like fantastic. I think they're called The Strike. It's super 80s kind of like overall, but I've been listening to them a lot lately. They're definitely a cooler band that I found recently.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. That's everything from me, man. Rory, thanks so much for taking the time to chat.
Yeah, dude. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it, man. This is fun.
Yeah, man. And yeah, dude, I look forward to hearing what comes next from Hurtwave.
Yeah, we'll keep the sads coming. Yeah, no worries.
All right, man. Have a great day.
Thanks. You
Cheers.
too, man.
Bye.